Welcome, brothers and sisters. Gonna jump into a little live stream here in a minute. Just give it about half a minute, let people get in, connect all my platforms, and we'll get into it. Another late night live show. Okay. How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. My name's Will Keller, and this is another evening Improv 2 live show. Kind of playing with some new gear and got some cool concepts and stuff I want to dive into. Someone that's very much into symbolism and allegory. The topic tonight is I'm going to make the correlative connection of the Stranger Things series, primarily the villain Vecna and his mind control, his cult that he created with the 12 young children. In this last season, season 5, there was some really good occult allegories and symbolism and metaphysical concepts. So yeah, a little guilty pleasure, right? My daughter and I like to check out that series, but it just really stood out in this last series, in the last episodes, of how much occult symbolism was in these episodes. So tonight, I'm primarily focused on the tenets of a cult, C-U-L-T. And they hit every single one in this series, and it's just right there in front of your face. And if you know, you know. And if you don't know, you need to know. And then I'm going to make the correlative connection of statism, right? The belief in government and how this is the world's most dangerous and predominant cults in the world. 100%. This is a religion that the majority of people subscribe to. And a good portion of them don't even understand. They're completely ignorant to the fact that this is a religious cult system based on violence, death, coercion, duress, and they are participating in that. And through their participation, unbeknownst to them, they are actually contributing to the main mechanism of human suffering. Not only human, animals, the planet itself, right? Since we are all interconnected in this shared reality, right? What people do matters and has an effect. So this is going to be a fun, interesting, exploratory live show. And if you're into Stranger Things and you haven't seen it, there's going to be a little bit of spoilers, not that much, because I'm so focused on just that one section, just a few scenes, but it's large to the story of the series itself. Let me turn that off. All right, how's everyone doing? Let me do a little check-in. It's 9:25 p.m. Pacific time. I'm in Northern California. Let me know where you're at. I kind of like doing these evening live shows because it allows me to get, go live to other parts of the world. So let me know. Everything's coming in clear. What's up, Elliot? Good seeing you, brother. We got some people in the Instagram. All right. Good seeing you. Right on. So yeah, I hope everyone is doing well. Winding down in the fourth quarter of the year, right? Last live show, we talked about, 2025 in the Chinese New Year. It's the year of the snake. So we talked about a lot about symbolism and energetic attributes of 2025. And then I, explored 2026, which is the year of the fire horse, right? The horse itself, but elemental, it is fire. And I was doing some shorts and I failed in that episode to really explain the natural cycle of the year. And of course, the Gregorian calendar, right, has it December 31st, January 1st, that is the new year. And even some people, they make that argument, well, the sun itself is at 0 degrees, and then it starts to make that climb again, and you could look at that as the new cycle. I don't actually subscribe for that. A full cycle is life to life, right? So something like the spring equinox in late March, March 22nd, 21st, that is when new life officially begins. And to me, and I'm pretty strong on that, that would be a full cycle, right? So keep in mind, with that being said, that we still have, almost 2 months, almost 2 months, almost 3 months of that end of the year. See, people get into the mentation and the energy of, it's the new year, the fire horse energy now in January, but we're still in the year of the snake. This is the final stretch where a lot of people, including myself, can really feel the last shedding of the year. And it can be difficult for a lot of people energetically, psychologically, emotionally, physically, right? But if you're not taking in that fourth quarter, the end of the year being December, January, and February, you're going to be off kilter energetically, right? So keep that in mind, that we still got a couple months of the actual natural cycle of the year. And then we get into spring, and then, the element, the warming up of the fire horse takes place. So I just kind of wanted to throw that in there real quick. And then, a quick announcement before we get into the nitty gritty. I'm booked. I am locked in. I got all my flight, got my hotel. Everything's good to go for the People's Reset in Morelia, Mexico. I'm thrilled about this event. Number one, it's solution-orientated. This is the 8th event. I thought it was the 5th. It's the 8th event that Derek Bros from the Conscious Resistance has hosted. It used to be the Greater Reset. Now it's the People's Reset. So the whole MO is about solutions. There's multiple categories. In fact, let's do this. Turn that. Oops. Let's bring this on into stage. Oops. Sorry. Got too much shit going on in here. There we go. The People's Reset. So the greaterreset.org. Activation is back. Manifesting our vision for 2030 and beyond. It's a great video. I wanted to, what you can expect, liberate the mind, body, and soul, permaculture and food independence, agorism and parallel networks. That's day 3. That's the day that I will be doing my presentation on natural law, the blueprint for a free society. And then day 4, empowering technology. 5, building free and conscious communities. So this is going to be, and there's tons of workshops and events. It's going to be fantastic. Really, really cool lineup. A great musical aspect to it. So there's going to be, a concert at the end. And Yeah, there's Dub FX right there. Presence is going to be there. So it's going to be fantastic. It's worth the trip. It is worth the trip. So um, I'm very, very excited about that. And yeah, and my presentation itself is going to be on the governing dynamics of reality. And that includes human beings. And what does that mean for us? We say we say we want freedom. What is that? Right? Words words are very powerful, but yet again, don't give them too much weight. Words are words. They are tools. As human beings, we have the capacity and the capability to extract meaning, not only from words and language, from nature, right? This is the whole animistic approach, seeing the synchronicities and the symbols in the external world and within ourselves internally, in our internal ecology, and we can extract that meaning. But then what? It has to be applicable, right? It comes down to you choosing actions and behaviors as a co-creator in this reality. So the blueprint, if we are going to build free societies, right, that stands upon the knowledge and the alignment of the objective principles of the governing dynamics of reality, right? So that's my little pitch. I also did a micro activation with Derek Bros and Presence last month. It's on my channel. You can go to willkeller.com and check that out. So gave about a 15-20 minute kind of pitch on my talk, and I highly recommend people check that out. So very, very excited. Here's the card for that. Activation is back with more practical solutions for the problems we face as a collective. Solutions you can implement now to create more free and conscious communities. And also, so that's the People's Reset, January 28th to February 1st. And then later on in February, we have the Freedom Under Natural Law Conference, number 5. This is called Ignite Hearts and Minds. And February 21st and 22nd, this is a free 2-day online conference. We have about 18 fantastic educators that are going to give their own presentations. We have all different types of art forms. And yeah, this is the 5th conference. So freedomundernaturallaw.com. Check that out. You can go see the whole presenter list. And we're thrilled, and I'm very honored to be one of the co-founders, co-creators with the other group. And that is going to be very exciting. So, Vecna's cult control versus the freedom playbook. And well, first let me set the stage. I'm curious, has anybody seen the last season of Stranger Things? I'm not really. I don't do too many series. If I'm watching a movie, I love myself a good psychological, allegorical movie, right? I mean, I can't do brain rot. Stranger Things, I thought it was great. There's definitely some issues in there, but the occult symbolism was fantastic, especially in that last season. So have you seen it? Have you seen any of the metaphysical or the symbolism of mind control and the cult tenets? Let me know in the chat if you have, and we will get into this. So first and foremost, let me play you a scene so you can kind of visually see what I'm going to dissect, okay? If you're not familiar, let me see here. Let's put this back up and bring this up. So obviously, 1 minute backstory right on the left, Vecna. This is, and first of all, there's historical aspects of Stranger Things itself, right? It's originally based on the Montauk projects and MK Ultra, so that is very fascinating to go down, and how they incorporate a lot of that historical aspects from there, right? But obviously, this guy Vecna, yeah, he looks all gnarly. Physically, his body is all mangled, but he is part of a government black ops project that enhanced his telekinesis and his psychic abilities, right? There's more to that, but without doing a whole rabbit hole and spoilers on that. And then, of course, the main character, played by Millie Bobby Brown, which is 11. She obviously is part of that government program as well, and has the same, very similar telekinesis and psychic abilities at an advanced level. So in one of the earlier seasons, they come into a head and have a battle. This is all psychic, abilities they are fighting. She pretty much rips open a dimensional rift and sends him through there. He gets, all mangled up, and his body deforms and changes. Now, he fast forward a few seasons, right? He is trying to, take over the world, do all this kind of stuff. But it's the way that he does it that we're going to kind of dive into. And especially into this last season, he is doing covert mind control that leads up to more overt implications. And he is trying to, his target is young children, a certain type of young children. Quote, he says, because they are weak and they are programmable and controllable, right? That's the very foundation of what the nature of a human being is, right? It's not strictly good or strictly evil. The nature of a human being is that we are programmable, meaning that we have the capacity to be shaped and molded into a little c creator, right? Using our mind, heart, hands, and to influence reality and, create and manifest, right? So he's targeting these young children, a certain type of young children that we'll get into, and he is trying to mind control them, to use them as vessels to create change in reality. Okay? So, that's kind of like the backstory. Now, let me play this clip, and then we'll get into the main tenets of a cult. C-U-L-T. Okay? Appreciate y'all tuning in. So let me pull the volume. Should be good. Let's bring this to the stage. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong one. Okay, we're going to check out this scene. This is right where now the mangled physical form, he obviously doesn't use that, right? He, with his psychic abilities, he's in just regular human form, trying to look like just a nice guy, right? As he makes contact to each of these children. Right? He makes that initial contact, and we're going to go more into that. But after he makes contact with each of the children, he gains their trust, and he pitches them a certain type of narrative that we will explore in a little bit. And then he captures them and controls their mind via illusion, psychological illusion, and this is the start of the scene that we're going to kind of dissect. dissect. So let me go ahead and...
To be here might be foggy, confused. The monsters, they tried to take you, but I saved you just in time. This place, my home, is now your home too, your sanctuary. As long as you do not venture out into the woods where the monsters live, you will be safe here. Now I know many of you are wondering when the rest of your friends and family will join us here. The difficult truth is there is more at stake than just the lives of your loved ones. I don't wish to frighten you, but I believe you are brave enough to know the truth. An evil darkness is spreading across not just Hawkins, but the whole world, and soon it will be too late to stop it. You can think of this darkness like the black thing in your book. Just as the black thing threatened Meg's family, so does the darkness threaten yours, but I believe I have found a way to defeat this darkness.
How?
I have traveled far and long beyond our dimension. In my travels, I discovered another world. A world far from Earth. This world is much like ours, only good, free of monsters and darkness. It is the light, which brings me to the true reason why you have been chosen. You are not like other children. Like Meg, you're special. You have dormant powers in here. And I believe if we work together, we can awaken those powers, channel our energy, and draw this new world to ours. And as the light reaches the darkness, the light will expel the darkness. Your loved ones will be saved, and you will be heroes. Yes, Holly.
Are you going to leave again? To bring more, special kids here?
Poor Holly. She was the first one chosen, and she was left here all alone. But don't worry, I won't be leaving you. Any of you ever again. But for now, eat and play. And most importantly, rest. Because tomorrow it begins.
Tomorrow it begins. Okay. So you see that scene right there. He's trying to be nice. He's saying a whole bunch of key things, even from that first scene. So, and he took them to that house, right? Because, well, the government said that there was a big earthquake in their town called Hawkins. Really, it was like a dimensional shift of, what they call the upside down, kind of bleeding into physical reality. But the government's saying it was a big earthquake, and there are these demogorgons, these monsters that kind of, take people and run around. So he's using these scare tactics, and there's a lot. So I was just about to start diving into it, which is great. Let's do it. But first, I want to talk about the main tenets of a cult itself. Okay, here we go. So there is absolute authority, right? The leader is the truth. So there's an arbiter of truth in any type of cult. There is exclusive truth. We're the only right ones, right? And and obviously the control in behavior, right? You're controlling the behavior, information, thoughts, and emotions. One of the biggest ones is isolation, right? Cut off from outside influence. There's the fear, there's guilt, shame, right? This is used to enforce obedience. There's an us versus them mentality. So outsiders are enemies and they are unsafe. Outsiders meaning anyone that does not submit to the ideology, right? They are the bad guys. They are the evil ones. And there's a demand for purity. So strict rules, perfection, pressure. There's secrecy as well, right? There's hidden teachings and hidden abuse, exploitation, money, labor, sex, status, time, and then punishment for anyone that wants to exit, right? So there's threats, shunning, retaliation, etc. These are the main tenets of what a cult is. You could take these and reflect on modern society today. And there's a lot of things. For instance, the pandemic is a great time period to observe in our recent history to see the cult tenets in action, right? This word cult gets thrown around a lot, right? I mean, people throw these around with certain circles of thought. One of the key things of a cult is that there is a violation of rights, meaning if you do not submit to the ideology, you will be violated. You will be attacked in some form or fashion. And that is a huge hallmark of what a cult is versus just, circles of thoughts and ideologies. So keep that in mind. It's very aggressive, and there is that violation of rights. So with these main tenets of a cult, let's look at that clip and expand upon it, right? Let me pull my notes up. So yes, he has 12 kids. Let me add that. There's 12 kids, and 12 is a symbolic number as well, right? You could look at it with the zodiac. 12 implies a full circle in itself, right? So it's a full system, and that is key into his objective of trying to create really this overarching pathway of individuals, of these, micro vessels to create a larger vessel, right? They're pretty much nodes, getting them all synced up and to amplify his objective, his powers, right? He's trying to merge these dimensions. Ultimately, that's his goal. And so in that conversation that he had, right, you could see that he starts off with, "I saved you," right? And keep in mind, I didn't show it in the clip, that he reached out to each one of these kids separately, not as a group, but individually, and planted the seeds. And those seeds were, it's a scary time in your town. There are bad things happening. And he pretty much is getting the kids to agree. And then he starts planting the seeds of, I am your savior. I can save you, right? Your parents are in danger, etc. And so he starts using these, these tactics of laying the groundwork as the savior, and as there is a path of salvation that he is kind of laying out, and he's getting these kids psychologically on board. Now, probably the first tactic that he uses is obviously target selection, right? So he picks the kids that are the most vulnerable to loneliness, rejection, shame, guilt, or some type of unresolved trauma, right? For instance, one of these kids is like a bully, and his nickname is Badass Derek or something like that. But he's like a bully, obviously has some type of trauma that he's expressing towards other kids at his school, etc., to his peers. Then there's the quiet, reserved, introvert kid. Then there's the other kid that has, parental issues, etc. So the target selection is really important. He's looking for weak minds. There's already a fracture in the psychology or in the emotional stability of these children. And that works because it's an access point. So if you already have suffering at some level, right, then you will accept, you're more likely to accept a meaningful pathway, quote unquote, meaningful pathway, like an upgrade or a path to non-suffering. Right? So that's how he engages each of these children, as in, yes, it's dark, it's scary right now. You are suffering, you're in a bad place. I can help you. Right? That's how he introduces himself. And he also uses, obviously, the covert mind control with his powers. He gives these kids, or he uses against these kids, he violates their free will, but using deception in the form of visions, right? So he shows visions to these kids of the demogorgons, which are these creatures that are from this other dimension that he utilizes as his minions. And he shows visions to these kids to scare them, to put them in a fearful state of mind as well. Right, so not all of the population is seeing these demogorgons. Right, the main characters have battled them throughout the seasons. The government has the facade of, it was just a big earthquake, when really there's the truth of, a dimensional rift is happening, and yeah, there are these monsters there. But he's using visions and altered states with these kids, supernatural phenomena and distractions that bypass logic. Now, these kids are, they're like 10, 12, 13 years old. So extremely impressionable. Extremely. This is the time period where you are discovering your individuation. Right? You're already out of the formative years. Now you are in the self-discovery phase. So extremely impressionable. So he uses these visions to scare them, right? This is the truth of what is really going on. Your world is being taken over by these monsters, and he shows them the visions, gets them in a fear-based consciousness. And he befriends these kids separately, tells them that, you and others are the chosen ones. And these visions that these kids have, they seem real to the kids. Like they're really seeing these monsters. And then, of course, he steps in and he uses his psychic abilities to extinguish the monster. See, there's the facade there. That's the mind control of problem, reaction, solution. These kids see this monster and they're fearful, and then he steps in as the hero. So that's how he gains their trust initially, right? To develop that relationship. So, tactic 1, target selection. Target 2, contact and awe, right? The contact would be the visions of the monsters, and the awe is him stepping in being the hero, right? And then, he explains to him that something bigger is happening. You should listen. And you are part of the solution to save your parents, the town, the world. Tactic 3 is love bombing. Love bombing via destiny. Okay? So he's offering them an emotional drug. You're chosen. You are special. You were meant for more. I see you, and you are powerful, etc. Right? It's a form of love bombing. I say via destiny because he's obviously framing it as in you are the chosen one. You are part of the solution to save the planet from these monsters. So that works very well because it fills the void or the hole emotionally and psychologically that the child already had, right? The love is conditional, but it feels like salvation to these children. There we go. Oops, man. Okay. Now, tactic 4 that he uses is he reframes their pain as a gift. So he doesn't heal the wound that they have. He mythologizes it, is what he's doing. Your suffering proves you're different. Your pain is power. They hurt you because they fear you. Right? And he's talking, he's using code as well. Like the monsters are targeting you because you are special, you are powerful, and also in the same time, the stuff, the negative aspects that you have been through in life is because you have powers, you are special, etc. So it's converting shame, right, into pride without actually resolving anything. Just it's creating loyalty to him, right? This is all about building trust. And once I'm going to run through these, right? And then I'm going to compare it to government as well. So it's going to get real spicy with these tactics. It's like, once you dive through this psychological framework, it's really important. Same thing as symbols. When you explore that realm of symbolism, all of a sudden, the extrapolation of meaning expands. It's like what I say in my presentations. Awareness reveals choice, right? When you take in information, that adds to the pot. That adds to your library of knowledge. Therefore, you can extract meaning, process information at a higher level to have higher definition, a higher resolution of what is going on in the world, right? If we all live in this objective reality, meaning it operates one way, but we are having our own subjective experience, yes, your perception is vital because how you perceive the world is going to dictate the actions and the choices that you take, right? So it's very important. This type of information adds to that repository to see the lies, to see the deception, to understand the certain aspects of yourself, right? There's a negative and a positive aspect to all of this type of information. Okay, so I went through 4, reframing the pain. Now, number 5, introduce the enemy and the apocalypse. This is what Vecna, and when he's in his human form, actually his real name is Henry. So he obviously, his human form is what he used to look like before he got mangled up going through the dimensional rift. That's obviously what he's using to influence these children, and he uses his name Henry as well. So these are he's specifically doing it to just these children. So he's introducing the enemy and the apocalypse, right? He's defining a threat. The outside world is blind, is corrupt, is dangerous, and there is a catastrophe at hand and is coming, right? The world is ending, and only we can stop it, right? So now he's appealing to those factors of, what he set up with the love bombing and reframing the pain as a gift, right? This is the next step. So only we can stop it. And this creates urgency. And when you're in a state of rush or urgency, that tends to bypass reflection. Okay? When you're rushing something, it's very easy to obviously shortcut, missteps, not see the smaller details that are crucial, or the subtle differences, right, that is going on. I mean, even in some of, like the pandemic, for instance, that sense of urgency is a tactic all in itself, right? To bypass that reflection. So, and through that urgency, he's able to step into that position of, he moves from your friend Henry to now he's your protector, leader, guide to salvation. And he uses those terms a lot. I will protect you. Just like in that clip in the beginning, right? I will protect you. I will keep you safe. Here, this is your home for now. Play together. You're safe here. And then, of course, number 6 is isolation. So there's constantly this flux of the material world and the mental realm. So obviously he kidnaps these kids individually. He kidnaps them and takes them to a certain location where they are unconscious. They're kind of hooked up to this being / machine, right? This biological machine that keeps them unconscious and connected to a network. So they go from being kidnapped to now to the mental realm. It's almost like a dreamlike state, which is the beginning of that clip. When you see the kids walking into his home, right? They're really in a MK Ultra state of psychological psychosis altogether, sharing that reality, that mental reality. So isolation, removing them physically and mentally as well. He makes the outside connection feel unsafe or lower, right? Obviously, they're at war. The monsters are coming for the town, coming from their parents. He had to save them first because they are the chosen ones. Your parents won't understand. Your friends won't understand. Your friends will betray you, so don't tell them, right? He told the kids, too, that there will come a time in the short future that I will come and take you and save you, and we will unite together as a group to save the world. So, of course, when he had his demogorgons or his monsters physically kidnap them and put them in a unconscious psychosis, he was able to obviously clip out that part of, you know, the monsters coming to physically kidnap them. So it just starts with he came, picked up the kid, and walked them through a dimensional door. Now they're in the house, right? In the field, walking into the house. So cults don't always need walls. They just need you to self-separate. The symbolic reference of physicality and the mental realm is really important, right? Like it's saying you don't always need to go to a house, right? You can be cut off psychologically from the world, from your friends, right? From your tribe, etc. And that is going to come into play very much later on when we get into statism, or the belief in government. And then number 7 is trauma mining, right? Confession without consent. So he forces contact with their worst memories. Yes, that's how he initially gave them fear, right? When he was showing them their visions, the visions incorporated their childhood fears as well, either some type of trauma event or something they're insecure about, right? So they had to relive those traumatic moments with that fear, grief, shame, the exposure that makes them feel vulnerable. And, you know, once someone knows your deepest wound, they obviously can use that against you, right? They can become the only one that can soothe it and the only one who can exploit it, right? So there's a level of dependency there. Just like government, right? We need government. Oh my gosh, if we didn't have government, the world would be chaos. There'd be death and killing everywhere. Yeah, like we don't got that already. Like, come on. Anyways, so there's an exploitation of fear and trauma there that Vecna uses. So, role assignment, this is number 8, and identity replacement. So, giving, also known as, you know, ego identification. So you are a warrior, you are a vessel, you are part of the 12, the circle of salvation. You are part of something bigger. So this identity becomes external, who you are and what you do for me. So for the kids, Vecna's using these kids, as you can see, they're in the house and they're sitting in a circle, and he's telling them that you are all special. Each of you are part of something bigger, and we need all of us together to make this work. He creates, number 9 is tests of loyalty. He creates small prove it moments, right? And he does this in a very subtle fashion, right? And it starts with, he even says, right? When he has the initial contact, it's something relatable, right? Like one of the girls, Holly, he goes, she's in the library reading A Wrinkle Through Time, right? Great book, great allegory. And he steps out into the library and he goes, I love that book. And she goes, yeah, me too. And he goes, can you keep a secret? And she lights up like, yes, right? A little bit of like novelty. So he uses these small little tests, and then, he also gives commands to see if they obey those. And they're very subtle, right? But it's very powerful when it's compounded. So, and then he frames it for the mission, these little objectives to do. This is for the mission, etc. So little compromises stack up into a psychological trap. I've already done so much, so I must be right. Gets these kids already trusting, believing in the goal, gets them to do little tasks, and makes them feel like they've invested into this mission. And just a couple more for the tactics that Vecna uses. So number 10 is the escalation to irreversible commitment. So this is a big step. Actions that can't be undone. And this would be something like harm, some type of violation of natural rights, betrayal, or crossing the line. And once you've crossed a moral boundary, the leader offers the only escape from guilt, deeper submission. And he does this with these kids. There's actually one of the girls, Holly. She was the first one to be contacted, and she was the first one to be taken to the house. So she was there by herself. And part of the story is that there's another character, Max, that is stuck in that psychological psychosis, but she is on the outskirts of that realm where he cannot go because there's a childhood memory that he himself is fearful of. So that is her hideout. She makes contact and conveys what is really going on. She's very doubtful at first. And it takes her a little bit of time to kind of consider what this character is saying. But she ends up doing the one thing that initiates the journey of getting out of a cult. And that is embarking on the quest of questions. The cult leader, the cult dynamic, they do not like opposing questions. You could see in that clip, she raises her hand to ask a question. And Vecna says, poor Holly, she was the first one to come here. She went through a traumatic experience. She has her doubts, which he frames that as in she's kind of a threat to the group. Because she's asking these opposing questions, she's having doubts. And of course, the other kids, they ridicule her and they beat her up. They actually physically violate her because she is questioning the mission. She is questioning the objectives of Henry and what they're doing there, right? She's trying to wake them up. So that is the escalation of commitment, because he takes all the other kids and says, we can't do this without her, right? We're part of the whole. It's only going to work if we're all on board. You guys need to inspire her. You need to make her see the light. And, they beat her ass. It's total cult aspect, right? That violation. So, and then number 11 is sealing the bond. There's that dependency loop where he uses terror, punishment, withdrawal with comfort, praise, and belonging. So this creates trauma bonding, right? The nervous system starts to crave the relief only the abuser can provide. They start to identify with their oppression. And the abuser also becomes the reliever of their suffering. So there's a dark trauma bonding there. So he uses that with these kids. And mainly because they are ignorant to his true identity. And then, of course, there's always, with any type of cult, there's the physicality, right? It's very much emotional. I mean, emotional and psychological. But, you know, the mind, the heart, the body is all one system, interlocked. So, of course, there is the maintenance, the physical maintenance. And he does that by keeping them exhausted and afraid. 1 second, guys. All right. So yes, he keeps them exhausted, and I'm calling that maintenance. So confused, hypervigilant, emotionally dependent. Convince them if they leave, they will die. Their parents, their friends, everyone will die. Okay? And this is extremely useful for Vecna because, people don't choose cults like they would choose a hobby, right? There is mind control there. There is ignorance of oneself. So the exploitation of certain events or certain aspects of an individual, like resources, keeping people in survival mode, those are all of the ends for the seeds of mind control to really be planted. Now, with all that being said, I'm going to play that clip again and listen to what he is saying to these children. And then I'll show you one other super short clip where it's going to go. But listen to this and see if you can remember some of the points that I talked about. I'll run through these super fast. I'm not really showing the initial contact, but there was target selection for the weak-minded or the traumatic children. There's the contact and awe, love bombing via destiny, reframes their pain as a gift or power, introduces the enemy and the apocalypse, right? There's an outside threat, isolation, both psychological and physical, the trauma mining, so fear, grief, shame, exposure to all of that, role assignment and identity replacement, right? You are special. You are part of the 12. Test their loyalty. Escalation to irreversible commitment. And then sealing the bond. And, of course, maintenance. So let's go ahead and play this clip one more time.
And to be here might be foggy. And to be here might be foggy. confused. The monsters, they tried to take you, but I saved you just in time. This place, my home, is now your home too. Your sanctuary. As long as you do not venture out into the woods where the monsters live, you will be safe here. Now I know many of you are wondering when the rest of your friends and family will join us here. The difficult truth is there is more at stake than just the lives of your loved ones. I don't wish to frighten you, but I believe you are brave enough to know the truth. An evil darkness is spreading across not just Hawkins, but the whole world, and soon it will be too late to stop it. You can think of this darkness like the black thing in your book. Just as the black thing threatened Meg's family, so does the darkness threaten yours, but I believe I have found a way to defeat this darkness.
How?
I have traveled far and long beyond our dimension. In my travels, I discovered another world. A world far from Earth. This world is much like ours, only good. Free of monsters and darkness. It is the light. Which brings me to the true reason why you have been chosen. You are not like other children. Like Meg, you are special. You have dormant powers in here. And I believe if we work together, we can awaken those powers, channel our energy, and draw this new world to ours. And as the light reaches the darkness, the light will expel the darkness. Your loved ones will be saved, and you will be heroes. Yes, Holly.
Are you going to leave again? To bring more special kids here?
Poor Holly. She was the first one chosen, and she was left here all alone. But don't worry, I won't be leaving you. Any of you ever again. But for now, eat and play. And most importantly, rest. Because tomorrow it begins.
All right. So just that small clip, there's so much telling information. You could see those components, and again, there's a few episodes of him doing all this, and it's really great to kind of see that and the allegory right here. And most people, the majority of people probably don't even notice that. And fucking all the streams got hit with copyrights because I'm playing the clip. Facebook's down, Instagram's down. I think I'm still live on YouTube. Yeah, we still got some people in here, so we're gonna rock with it. Shocker. Anyways, now let me see. And this is what when he gets him to that extreme point. And then after this, we're going to get into statism. Here's a short clip of after Holly takes her beating, and it's almost like the last test that he's getting the kids to. And there's already been kind of signs that something's a little fishy, but then again, he's pressing them on their loyalty, and they all are still going with it. And this is what the point that he's getting them to.
It's time.
seance. You see her, she's bloody because she got beat up. Oh, I cut it a little short. So yeah, so he's getting them to that point where then he has full control and he's using them as vessels to kind of to do what he's trying to do, right? He's trying to use them, use their innocence, right? You know, this is why pedophilia, child sacrifice, SRA, this is why it is the foundation of the parasite class, is that child energy, right? And it's very much shown in this series too, allegorically as well. So they convey the impressionable state, the molding of young minds, and also the currency of them as well as a resource. It is shown in this series. Very dark, very real, and matter-of-factly. It absolutely it is, right? We're not talking about money. When people say follow the money, yeah, sure, you could. That'll give you a little bit of insight. Money is nothing to the dark social engineers, the parasite class. It is your perception for the greater aggregate. They want to be able to manage that and control that so they can have the real dark, energetic loosh from children. It's deplorable. So, is it still going? Instagram? Looks like it. All right. So let's run through. How's everyone doing? Let me check the comments. What's up, Mick? In Sydney, right on. Anti-involution, what's up from NZ, New Zealand? Yep, that's right. Looks like they decided that you were too spicy. Yeah, that and playing those clips, you know, it was copyright shit. I don't monetize any of my platforms. I don't want any of that. I don't want that connection with them. YouTube's having a fit. Keep saying your stream is suspended. Well, it still shows we're going. We still got some good amount of people in here, so I'm gonna keep rocking. I might just have to delete the stream and cut the clips out if I upload. And then Brian Parker from Facebook, the Facebook stream is no longer going on, but he said if you talk about natural law and don't mention the two forms, scientific and legal, then I know you've never studied natural law. And I don't know if Brian's in the YouTube. What is your definition of natural law? Because I can already see you're bringing legal in there, legality, right? And that's not the form of natural law that I'm talking about. It's sure, I understand the argument and the claim there that natural law or common law or law of the land is, you know, it's based upon that man-made system. Real, correct, true natural law is not man-made. It is the governing, overarching dynamics and laws, the unchanging laws that are inherent in the fabric of nature. And as humans, we can come to observe, know, and align our behavior with these laws of nature. And sure, scientific, I mean, even the scientific communities, they call it constants, constant laws, right? Meaning they're unchangeable. So yeah, absolutely. Use the scientific method. That's what the scientific method is all about, discovering truth. Thermodynamics, gravitation, magnetism, that's all part of natural law. I obviously focus on the governing dynamics of human behavior. Natural law affects every aspect of reality. And of course, it affects even levels of consciousness different, meaning moral law, natural law, isn't in effect for the animal kingdom, because the animal kingdom is already in alignment with natural law at that scale. They are instinctual. So we as human beings are at a different, higher level of consciousness, capability, and capacity. Therefore, the interaction with natural law, the effect is different. So, of course, I focus on the moral aspects of that. Now, legality, we need to understand that obviously our current form of government, right, or any form of government, is based upon the belief of human authority, meaning that there are certain human beings that can issue and dictate commands, and the others must obey them. And if they do not, they will be violated. What is that sounding like? That's sounding like a cult. Now, sure, human beings are always going to interact and come together and build systems for communication, for organization, etc. That is going to happen. But what is those systems based upon? Is it based upon what we have now, which is dictates, creeds, policies, regulations, etc., right? And what is the condition of those claims and commands and issues, right? It's obviously there's a monopoly on violence there, where if you do not obey, you will be violated. It's not an opinion to them. You can't just opt out of government or the systems of government without fully being unscathed. They obviously will violate you. So it's taking it from a realm of organization based upon first principles of morality, meaning we are responsible individually and we cannot initiate harm to others, or it's based upon what we have now, which is obviously absolute clap, right? The divine right to rule. This is how all politicians and all governmental institutions, they are the arbiters of truth. They have a moral superiority. Let me bring this slide back up. So Brian, to go back to what you were saying, if I don't talk about the scientific and legal aspects, then I know you've never studied natural law. Okay. Yeah, that is completely inaccurate, because I can tell by the definition or how you are explaining what natural law is. Scientific, absolutely. Legalese, any kind of man-made system is not natural law. Natural law, bring that up. Natural law, let's go back to its etymology and of the actual words, the definition. Natural, from Latin, naturales, meaning inherent to creation, non-man-made. And then law, the correct definition, 100%, is an unchanging, immutable, dynamic, or condition. Both of those definitions do not mean man-made or created by man. So even all types of legal systems are man-made, right? Artificial. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the moral, metaphysical, sure, scientific as well. scientific aspects of natural law. Because and the reason why, and sure, you could go down the road of the systems that we create have to have some type of reference. They need to stand on moral principles, and then you can extrapolate the attributes and the characteristics of potential parallel systems. That's great. But obviously we're putting the cart before the horse, right? The first principles, that understanding and that knowledge must be first. So we need to understand the objective standard of human interaction and human behavior. And that is objective morality. 100%. So I could throw it back on you as well. If you are claiming to know natural law and you are not talking about morality, then you are far from the bullseye, my friend. Far from the bullseye. There is nothing more basic than the behaviors and the actions that we take in reality and the condition that is generated from those choices. Everything in nature is based upon relationships. Everything. The relationship to my friends, family, community, my relationship and your relationship to truth, to morality, to the community, your relationship to the current human condition of slavery, violence, death, and duress, right? Everything is based upon relationships. That is because everything is interconnected in this shared reality. So, of course, once you understand that and know that truth, that everything is interconnected and everything is based upon relationships, that fundamental aspect of behavior and actions and the condition of those choices is at the very bedrock of all organizations, communal aspects, anything we build, whether it's education, health, financial, technology, tools, everything is derived from that fundamental level of morality or immorality. Morality being the difference between right and wrong, implying objectivity, that there is a difference, right? Not based upon subjective opinions or feelings or perceptions. So, but yeah, there are many aspects and categories of natural law. But I will stand firm on anybody that is actively talking about natural law and not incorporating the most important aspect of natural law, which is morality, morals and ethics. You're doing a very, very disservice to that whole category and topic. If you want to fly a plane, you better understand the principles of aviation. You better understand natural law, motion, force, etc. If we want to be free, we need to understand the objective standards that generate the condition for humanity. So, hello from Europe. Thank you for joining. Okay, so let's start it off where I was talking about almost the main attribute of government, right? And it's right there at the top of the list. Absolute authority. Very similar to the divine right to rule. meaning that they are God in the world, in reality, right? When you think about kingship and queenship, which, yeah, that still exists. But even when we look at something like, you know, it doesn't matter, a republic, democracy, socialism, communism, right? Those are all gradients and varieties of that belief in human authority, absolute authority, right? And the deeper meaning of that is that it is built upon moral relativism, meaning that morality is fully subjective. Each person can say whatever they say it is, and from that erroneous religious belief, false belief, they are able to embody might makes right. So they can accumulate the monopoly on force for violence, and then they have absolute authority. Now, of course, that is just a belief system. The only reason why that is in effect and active is because the majority of people believe that, support and condone, and believe that government in some form or fashion must exist, right? Government, gubernare, mens mentes, to control the mind. And what is the condition of that? What is it generating? So the leader of truth, right? Main tenets of a cult: president, prime minister, dictator. You could bring it out of the realm of government into even scientific communities, peer-reviewed studies, CDC, World Health Organization. You could bring it into the religious, the religare realm of a pope, a priest, etc. And what does that mean? It means that someone is claiming to be the arbiter of truth, to have some kind of authority over others. So, exclusive truth. We're the only right ones. We can see this all throughout the media, governmental official narratives, etc. Right? So they are the only ones that can convey truth. What they say is law, is right, etc. Hold on one second, people. Now, moving on to control, third one down, right? You have behavior, information, thoughts, and emotions. Let me pull these up. Now, we could see that everywhere, right? Who enforces that? The police and military. They enforce control over physical behavior. The mainstream media outlets and the experts control information. Public schooling, education, and universities control thoughts. And then, of course, emotions is heavily derived from popular culture as well, right? These are all the tentacles of the cult, all working in tandem, all the pieces, right? The 12 units of the completed circle of mind control and slavery and the occult. So, moving on, isolation. This expresses and manifests in the form of regions, patriotism, right? Us versus them, which is the next one as well. But that isolation also, it cut off from outside influence. Just look at the quote-unquote freedom or truth communities, right? Or conspiracy circles. So much of a push, which was created by the CIA, not to mention, right? The term, what coined the word conspiracy in the 60s, right? That was done by the CIA to isolate people that did what? Asked questions. Isolate them into the weirdos, the psychos, etc. Right? And many people that are, truth seekers have, been shunned or isolated from friends and family, etc. from the cult or by the cult. So that's the isolation. And then obviously fear, guilt, and shame that is used to enforce obedience. The fear of defense, national defense. This country or these people are going to attack us or kill us. We're constantly in the threat of war. That's been going on for generations and generations, the threat of war. The threat of an external enemy. Currently, right now in the U.S., right, it's the threat of immigration. It's the threat of to Western culture. It's the threat to American values. It's the threat of drugs from cartels, right? All of these are used for fear. If you're not American enough, if you're not conservative enough, there's the guilt and the shame. If you're not tolerant or inclusive enough, you're guilted and shamed, etc. Right? So again, we see this common theme of attack for submission. And obviously, yes, the us versus them and the demand for purity. This is a big one. We see this in all types of circles as well. I see this specifically in the conspiracy or the alternative circles as well. Right? People get hooked on these rabbit holes and they just keep going down deeper and deeper. I'm more of a conspiracy theorist than you, etc. So it's that demand of purity. And obviously on all sides of the political arena. Are you for this ideology? How much of a purist are you towards this type of religion? Whether it be Christianity or your support, for Israel or the Jews or Muslims, etc. We see purity even in the occult mystery traditions as well. I see a lot of purists when it comes to like Hermeticism. Keep the occult occulted. Humans aren't ready for certain empowering principles. It needs to have a level of secrecy just for the chosen few, which is the next one. Hidden teachings. And again, these are used all across the board. Political, scientific, academia, etc. with the secrecy. So the exploitation, money, labor, sex, status, time. That is getting a lot into rooted into the pop culture as well, right? These have all been governmental operations, agendas to sexualize the society, to dumb down children, to distract parents, to internalize an external threat from ABC, XYZ, etc. Exploit resources as well. right? Meaning send $1 billion to this country and put people in cages for not, paying their tribute to the crown or to the master. Or here's a good one. The government, they get audited and, it's $5,000 for a pack of toilet paper. Right? So they just write off this extravagant amount of money for certain resources. Right? I mean, we even see this in the crypto space as well, right? With the digital ID and the push towards the digital occultocracy, right? For humanism as well. Talks about, the U.S. trying to eradicate their debt using XRP or etc. It's all exploiting nature, the human spirit, people's ignorance, etc., just to embody the cult itself. And then punishment. Punishment for questioning, for, attempting to defend yourself, to try to exit certain systems. There's a, shunning, ridicule, retaliation, etc. And that is all throughout every category of society as well. So that's an overview of the government and its tentacles with the main tenets of a cult as well. Right? Not only is a cult a ideology that demands allegiance and demands submission, it will violate and attack those that do not submit. Right? That is the definition of a cult. 100%, that is statism. Government. This is also rooted in the philosophical and metaphysical, the spiritual domain as a religion itself. I am using religion as religare, right? From the Latin, its etymology meaning to bind back, to thwart from forward progress. Yes, there is another positive aspect of religion, which is religio, which means to unite together. So then one must ask themselves, what does that mean itself? Well, the uniting would obviously mean to truth, to nature itself, to natural law. The binding and thwarting from forward progress is obviously the inverse of that. And that's exactly all we have to do is observe the human condition, the institutions, and how society is functioning to see 100% we're living in one big death cult and death religion. That name is government and religion itself in general. All of them. All of the cultural religions, and a religion can be anything that thwarts someone from forward progress, of evolving spiritually, morally, in alignment with first principles, natural rights, etc. If you're hindering that process, free will, absolutely, that is a negative aspect. That is a violation. So society, 100%. We can look at government itself as a religion/cult, right? All the cultural religions are cults as well. They all meet those tenets of a cult. We have the sacred doctrines for government. The Constitution, the statutory doctrines as well. So even the people like Brian from Facebook talking about common law and natural law within a legal system, right? Those are all doctrines that are man-made, right? There is no magic phrase. There is no magic document that you could submit or rehearse in court to get you to exit the system. That doesn't exist. Sure, you could, beat certain cases, you can utilize certain things, but the whole cult and the whole religion is based upon moral relativism. Meaning whatever they say is law. Whatever they say is what is right. That's why it doesn't work for the majority of people, right? Because it is based upon these religious axioms and these cult tenets. That's why when it comes down to it, right, the goons, the order followers, they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck if you're a living man in the world, explaining to them or articulating them the violations and, the immorality that they are contributing in. They don't give a fuck. They're still going to drag you out of your vehicle, bust down your door, shoot your dog. They're going to do whatever they want because that's what the cult requires and that's what the religion embodies. Moral relativism. So, yes, sacred doctrines, the religious events themselves, whether that is quote-unquote Independence Day, elections, etc. You have the flag that you worship. You have the sacred sites, Washington, D.C., etc. Larkin Rose does obviously a fantastic job at, running through this topic. So I highly recommend his work when it comes to like that aspect, the cult of statism. So the rituals, the sacred rituals, etc. These are all aspects of the cult and the religion of government itself. So what would a healthy society look like, right? Well, this is exactly what I'm going to be talking about for my presentation at the People's Reset, right? The whole event itself is about creating solutions and on all aspects of relationship. And my presentation is going to be that blueprint. If we are building healthy systems, right? All of those need to have the blueprint that is already laid out in nature for us to discover, come to understand, and align our free will choices with in nature itself. That blueprint is there. And I'm going to dive into that as deep as I can. And it is vital for people to understand those first principles, that 0 point. For one, us to recognize what is going on in the world at its fundamental causal level, causality, the why, right? The quest for questions. Why is something happening? Not about all the other events that keep coming off the conveyor belt. Those are all effects of a deeper meaning of the actual root of the problem itself. And that absolutely comes down to the knowledge and the choice of the governing dynamics of reality, morality. And I'll be doing that in Morelia. And again, for the People's Reset, that's going to be streamed live. So anybody that can't make it in person, you can watch that live. I'll have it posted to my website, willkeller.com. And let me see, I know we lost a lot of platforms, but anybody got anything they want to, any questions or want to drop any kind of comments? It's been an hour and 40. I really wanted to kind of just go through the cult tenets and the correlation with what was shown allegorically in the series Stranger Things, and how that also aligns very much to statism and government, which in fact, I do have a presentation coming up. I was going to try to do it before the People's Reset, but I'm going to wait afterwards, and it's going to be about that category in detail, and it's going to be great. It's called Silent Chains. So let's see what we got. Thank you for the good information. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Absolutely. We are immortal souls in a human body. Nothing can harm the soul unless we believe it can. Death does not exist. Yeah, great comment. And death is a category that, I'm a student of life, but I am also a student of death itself. So, as in death does not exist, as in the exoteric understanding of what death is, how most people think, you die and that's the end. And, not to say someone talks about the afterlife, but yes, it is the transmigration of the soul itself. So it is a process of transmutation that takes place. The soul is very much different than the spirit. The spirit is the animating principle that absolutely is immortal, that is of source. Spirit is in everything. It is that animating principle, right? In my opinion, we are here to grow and evolve a soul as a soul itself in this experience. And that can be damaged. And you could look at it as in the process of evolution as a spiral staircase, right? You kind of start from source and you work your way up as you evolve or ascend up the levels of consciousness, starting from something like elemental, something that is very, foundational, and then move your way up to mineral, plant, animal, human, and then beyond human up to, celestial, etc. So you are at that process of experiencing and learning and and activating those levels is, a greater objective. But yes, you could damage the soul, and instead of ascending, you can descend 100%. And I think that the descending can get to a point where it is purified from source energy itself. This is getting deep into esoteric teachings, which I definitely love to explore. But yeah, absolutely, I agree. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, and the more you train and practice understanding symbolism and allegory and metaphor and understanding archetypes, you absolutely, it's more predominant and sticks out more. And it's a language of the universe, of the cosmos, of nature. And I think that's something people absolutely need to take into consideration. So thank you for the comment. Let's see what else we got here. Everything is possible according to Darius J. Wright, a conscious astral traveler who has explored the laws of our consciousness, including conscious travel to other dimensions. Thank you, Will. Great comment. I'm not familiar with that individual. I'll definitely check that out. But as someone, earlier on in my journey of higher awareness, I actually stumbled upon Bob Monroe and got into his 3-book series. It was very prolific. I loved it. It was very almost like a scientific journal in his first book. I loved what he experienced. I myself trained and practiced to have out-of-body experiences, which I was successful on a number of occasions. Still use some of those practices today as a meditation aspect, and that is a whole realm. I think I've told this story before. My last full out-of-body experience, I was met with a shadowy figure, almost like it was neutral. It wasn't, malevolent or benevolent. It had a neutral energetic signature, and I say shadowy because it was almost like it didn't want me to see its identity. And it's the advice that it gave me was the work is done in the body. Like the work, the greater work is done in the body. And I took that as a sign, to really hone in on this experience, this physical experience, right? We are here for a reason, ultimately to inspire others to wake up, to initiate a slave rebellion, because the nature needs that. This whole realm is being usurped, and it is hindering, stunting the dharma of other life as well, including our own, right? Dharma as in our path, our sole purpose. Meaning that this condition that we are in, the condition of slavery, is an imbalanced state of being. And it is having huge negative effects on the evolutionary process of all life on this planet. So, accomplishing a state of symbiosis and, course correction is vital. Thank you for the comment. Jones Plantation is a must-watch. Larkin is awesome. Fantastic movie. That's such a great movie to kind of, give a friend or family that's, that's unaware. And it's just the allegory and how it was expressed was fantastic. Huge shout out and respect to Larkin and that whole crew that did that film. Highly recommend people check out the Jones Plantation. 100%. I thought that the military, as depicted in the show, was like another opposing government trying to overpower Vecna and Jane 11 for the same ends, but in a slightly different representation. Great point, man. Like I said in the very beginning of this episode, there's so much allegorical topics to dive into with the series, primarily the last season, season 5. But yes, you had this main villain, Vecna, but then you also had the government, right? The government trying to attain the blood of Jane, to weaponize her psychic abilities. Right? So yes, there was so much to that, and that's a great point. 100%. All right, folks. I think that's going to be it for me. That was a great little live stream. I'll have to get that edited and take out those clips and get that posted up due to the copyright. I will post this up on Odyssey as well. People can go to willkeller.com. You can get to all of my platforms, video platforms. I post them onto my website as well. And message me for any type of questions. I'm definitely responsive on that aspect. And I appreciate you all. I love doing these Improv 2 live shows. It just gives me, time to kind of practice live streaming technology and also just riff. And I love doing that. I love just kind of freestyling, just take a couple points, write some notes down, and expanding on there. And obviously the interaction from the chat. So I appreciate you all for tuning in on this episode. I'm going to go breathe some H2 and wind down and chillax. And I think I'm going to do another live show tomorrow where I'm going to, and I'll schedule this, I am going to talk about the therapeutic benefits of molecular hydrogen. Talk about my products right there, those 3, and also what is hydrogen. And not only is hydrogen itself extremely therapeutic biologically, hydrogen itself has so many different aspects that it can be utilized for as a fuel source that's completely ethical and aligns with nature 100%. So many aspects. If people are interested in molecular hydrogen therapy, you can go to my website, ostarahydrogen.com, and you can also get there from willkeller.com. So we have some free material, videos, a PDF, ebook, and also Healing with Hydrogen, a podcast that my partner Logan Hart and I did. So go check that out. Until next time, y'all, I appreciate you. Have a good evening or a good day, and I'll see you next time. All right, y'all.